Hey, everybody. It's me, Davey here. I'm on a quick little layover in Newark, New Jersey on my way home from Costa Rica, just for a short stint. And yeah, just I actually got off just a 4-hour flight, and I was essentially meditating the entire time. And I'll tell you, my body is just buzzing right now. Um, so I teach a lot of, I guess, what you would call the intersection of science and spirituality, and a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, where he talks about essentially the neurophysiology of patterning and habits and beliefs and where they come from, and how, from a very early age we start thinking the same thoughts and feeling the same feelings, and that creates our personality, and our personality dictates what our personal reality is going to look like. But when you start to employ mindfulness and meditation and things like that, and start to focus on what you really do want, rather than what you've kind of been told to believe is possible, then you start to rewire the brain, and you start to change the physiology in the body, and you actually produce physical evidence in the brain and body that's essentially, a future potential, a future self, better health, more money. All these things actually exist. And so I was going through my meditations on the plane, and just essentially like 3 hours worth of just focusing on my future self. And I did a video, I guess about 2 weeks ago, after my quantum shift retreat, and I talked about how there's this future self, that is pulling you to you, the you that you think you are. And this future self has pre-planned everything for you, right? And so all the obstacles, all the difficulties, all the things, that you think are being done to you, or that you think aren't fair, um, it's actually been planned by a future you, on behalf of you, for your highest good. And our only job is to come to that awareness, to come to a self-awareness, almost like artificial intelligence, and to become more self-aware that we really are, these infinite light beings, and we do have infinite potential. And the more that we tune to that, and the more that we tune to love and happiness and wholeness and prosperity and gratitude and ease and flow and abundance, and the more we tune to these things, that's the neurology, and that's the chemistry that starts to build in the body. And so I was just going through, essentially tuning to that future self during my flight, and some really big goals of mine are to be speaking in front of thousands and thousands of people, and really helping to transform lives, sharing this information so that more and more people can really realize who they truly are and what they're truly capable of, and realize optimal health. And I feel younger, Joseph. I really do. And there's a book I'm reading, actually listening to, called the life and teaching of the masters of the Far East. And essentially that's one of the things they talk about, is like before bed, kind of going into a meditative state, and think of yourself as being younger and feeling younger, and then when you actually fall asleep, that spirit's going to kind of come in and do that work for you, and you're going to actually get younger, and you're going to feel healthier. And so during my flight, I was just going through that future self of like speaking to thousands and thousands of people, and how that would feel, and being able to transform those lives, and filling out all of my retreats, and making the money that I want to make, so that I can actually have the freedom to do what I love to do, and help even more people, and connecting with the love of my life, and just all of these things. And so I'm this process of thinking those thoughts, of tuning to that future self. I'm actually building neurology in the brain, and this works. It really works, you guys. So, and then just the feelings that I was going around, that I was marinating in, of how that would feel for that to actually come to fruition. And I'll tell you, I was having chills on and off throughout the entire, like goosebumps, just a feeling of euphoria washed over me of like, this is really possible. Like, and so it's like the more that we tune to that future self, it's like we connect to it. We connect to these feelings of wholeness, of oneness, of love, of purity, of prosperity, of all these things, and we essentially collapse time and space. And so when you're collapsing that time and space, it's like you're becoming that future self, right? So you're leaving the thoughts of who you think you are behind. You're leaving your personality behind. You're leaving your body behind. You're leaving this space and this time behind. And it sounds crazy, but it's all been proven. It's all, if you look at the quantum sciences, if you look at epigenetics about signaling new cells in new ways and improving your health and all these things, like this is the new science. This is the quantum model of reality, where we get to choose what we focus on. We get to choose the way we feel. And the more that we're focused on those things and we're feeling those feelings as if that's already happened, that's when the time and space collapses, and we close that distance between the self that we think we are now and the future self. And when we continue to close that time and space, it's like the things that we're aspiring to, the person that we're aspiring to, that future self that we're really trying to grab a hold of, that essentially becomes our reality, right? And then we have greater levels of awareness and tune to more levels of wholeness and oneness and prosperity and love and connection and all these things. And there's a quickening that begins to happen. And this quickening is being able to tune to it even faster, being able to tune to it for even a longer period of time, being able to tune to it without any breaking in that tuning, because that picture and that future self that we're tuning to is becoming, like, we're creating that neurology and that physiology in the brain and body to look like that future already exists. And that tuning to it becomes more real. Those thoughts become more real than our physical reality. And as we continue to tune to those things, it's like eventually, essentially, we just walk into those things. And closing that gap, collapsing time and space and bringing that future self to us, that quickening ends up, we're able to tune to it more and faster and more and faster and more and faster until we become the instantaneous manifestors of everything we desire. And of course, what we're desiring and what we're tuning to and what we're focusing on is greater and greater levels of wholeness, of oneness, of youth, of optimal health, of prosperity, of abundance, of ease, flow, so on and so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can tell how fired up I am right now after meditating for 3 hours. I've got another couple of flights left. I love when I'm flying. I don't eat and I don't sleep, and I just meditate. And every time I do it, it's like it gets more and more profound. I get more and more connected to that future self, and I mean the energy and the euphoria that I have right now is it's unbelievable. So if you're sleeping and eating the crappy plane food and stuff like that when you fly, I would say you're not actually taking advantage of flying the way that you could. And so if you start to implement meditation and focusing on what you really want, you're going to really start to fly, if that makes any sense. So yeah, dude, 3 hours of meditation, and so typically I set my alarm for 4 a.m. I do 4 hours of meditation first thing in the morning. I didn't do that this morning, so I did the 3 hours on the plane, and I have every intention of doing about another 2 hours before I finish travel today. So, and I'll tell you, man, when you really tune to that potential in the quantum field, it's like this field of energy that connects us all. Fasana Patel, so quantum. Yes, Fasana, yes. You know what I'm talking about. I love Nassim Harriman's work as well from the Science Resonance Academy. So Nassim is a unified physicist, and he essentially has proven that geometrically and mathematically that we're all one, right? So, and I mean, he said, and again, this is all scientifically proven. So essentially, everything in our material world is made up of 99.9999999% empty space, right? And we spend all of our time paying attention to the 0.0000001% that we actually call matter, or the particle, when in fact, if we switch our focus, thoughts have a wave of energy, right? I mean, at the microscopic level, at the quantum level, everything is vibrating, right? But we're not paying attention to the vibration. We're paying attention to what we perceive as physical matter. And that's what gets us into trouble. So if we start turning our attention to the 99.99999% of empty space, which is energy that we're floating in, but it's so dense and it's so energetic that it looks like nothing's going on, if we start to tune our minds to that, that's when we go quantum. That's when we become the creators and the manifestors in our life. That's when we become the victors instead of the victims. That's when we move from the Newtonian model of reality to the quantum model of reality. And I'm telling you from experience, from being in the Newtonian model of reality, from being very reactionary in my life, and I'm trying to do all this stuff and none of this stuff is working, and I'm trying to force and make shit happen. Man, I got my hands behind my head and my feet up these days, and I spend more time in meditation than I actually do doing anything, and the results are unbelievable. I've just capped off a 4-month travel that I spent in Bali, in Thailand, in Mexico, in Costa Rica. I'm home for 10 days and I'm going back to Costa Rica. And it's not to be like, hey, look at me. It's just, that was not my life not so long ago. I was grinding it out. I was in Toronto. I had a gym. I was, working 15, 16, 18 hours a day, 6-7 days a week sometimes. And I was always trying. I was always dragging my body through space and time to accomplish stuff. And it takes so much longer when you're viewing this world from the Newtonian model of reality, which is essentially cause and effect. Right? Things outside of me are going to happen. I'm going to look at the empty bank account and I'm going to throw my hands in the air and, oh, this sucks. And, things don't work and I'm trying so hard. And now that I understand the quantum model of reality and I tune my focus and my thoughts and my feelings, the abundance and the love and the prosperity, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I've bounced around from paradise to paradise to paradise to paradise in the last 4 months. And I'm going back very shortly. So I just wanted to share with you guys, the importance of changing your perspective, of taking your power back. And, when you do that, you're going to become the victor in your life, right? You're going to take control of every aspect of your life. And you're going to tune to more love and more wholeness and more oneness and more creativity and more bliss and more awareness and authenticity and beauty, and you're just going to go on this magic, beautiful carpet ride through your life. And that's what I want for every single one of us. That's what I want for every single one of you guys. Joseph's so interesting. Hi, Mom. How are you? I miss you. I'll be home tonight. Don Adams, do you work out or exercise prior to meditation, or do you meditate first? First, typically in my mornings, my regular days, I will meditate first. I set my alarm. Actually, I don't even set my alarm. I just tune to the time I want to wake up. I usually wake up between 3 and 4, sometimes a little bit later, sometimes a little bit earlier, and I meditate from essentially 4 until, if it's at 4 o'clock, I meditate until about 7:30, 8 o'clock, right? And there are different aspects to the meditation, but essentially it's a guided meditation where at that time, from 1 to 4 a.m., the raw materials of melatonin are the highest in the pineal gland, right? So, which when you start to stimulate the pineal gland, there's a breath work we do. There's a focus that I do where I focus on the energy centers, and where we place our focus is essentially where we place our energy. So when you start to focus, for example, just a quick test for you guys, if you put your attention into your big left toe, right? Your big left toe is always there, but it's like you can take your consciousness into that. So wherever you place your focus, right? If you start to focus on the pineal gland, the very center of the head, that's where you take your energy, and you can draw energy into the form, into these energy centers, and then you actually liberate stored energy from the lower three centers, and you take that breath and you compress the pineal gland. And between 1 to 4 a.m., that's when the raw materials of melatonin are the highest. And when you start to compress the pineal gland, it creates a piezoelectric effect, which essentially is a compression, and it transduces melatonin into dimethyltryptamine, which is the most psychedelic derivative on the planet. Something very close to Valium, so it actually anesthetizes the thinking brain. Two other things, and then one element that is present in electric eels. So it literally changes your pineal gland into a transducer receiver. And I mean, this is a whole lesson in quantum physics now. It's turned into, so I'm not going to keep going with that, but essentially the raw materials are present at that time. That's why I set my alarm super early. My internal alarm, wake up at that time, meditate from 4 to 7:30. Then I hit the gym. Then I do more breathing, the Wim Hof method. When I'm in locations where I can access cold therapy, I do the cold, and then I start my day. Right. So the first part of my day is filling my cup so that I can then serve and help others. My mom says amazing. Hi, Mom. Thank you. Joseph Stratus, so positive energy. Jennifer Ross, miss you, friend. I miss you too. I'm going to be home for 10 days, so we can connect, Jen, if I'll have access to my phone again. Mom, can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you either, Mom. I wish I could learn to do that. Joseph, you can, man. It's all the programming and the learning that we go through. It starts at a very young age, like essentially from 2 to 7 years old. We are in theta brainwave frequency, so it's actually like recording everything that's going on around us. So other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, our perception of a male-female relationship. So whatever's going on around us from that age, that starts to stay on this track of thinking the same thoughts and feeling the same feelings. So much so that by the age of 35 years old, we become a series of subconscious programs and beliefs, right? The average person thinks 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. 90 to 95% of those are exactly the same as the day before. So if you're not choosing with the 5% of your intellect, and so it's, everybody talks about we only use 5 to 10% of our brains. Well, essentially what that's saying is that 5 to 10% is our conscious intellectual mind. The other 90 to 95% is stored in the body as cellular memory. And so much so that those thoughts condition the body to chemical responses or feelings of unworthiness, unhappiness, ungratefulness, not enoughness, sadness, depression, anxiety, so on and so forth. And so we've got to choose with the 5% of our intellect to say, nope, I don't care what I have to go through. I don't care how long I have to sit my body down here. I'm going to tune to a new potential, and I'm going to reprogram my mind. And once I reprogram my mind, that's going to start sending new signals to the chemistry in the body. And when I start to send those new signals and new chemistry to the body, it's going to change me physiologically. And you literally switch off old genes that are like essentially old cells, disease. And disease, by the way, should always be hyphenated. It's dis-ease. It's a body that's not at ease. So it's going to switch off those old genes of dis-ease and disharmony in the body. And you'll actually switch on new genes in new ways. So you'll actually produce healthier cells. That combined with the breathing, I mean, Oh, sorry, folks. I'm kind of rambling here because I'm so fired up after that meditation. But bottom line, Joseph, is you can learn, and it's something I teach. So if you wanna go into more detail, let me know, and I'd be happy to. Valium, yeah, man. It literally is Valium. It literally anesthetizes the thinking brain. And Carrie Lee, how are you, Carrie? It's been a long time again. I'm gonna have to stop next time I'm home for any duration. I need something to knock me out on the plane. Meditation works. Meditation works. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there because this, yeah, it turned into quite a long video. There's lots of juicy stuff for you guys to sink your teeth into in that. And if none of it makes sense, or you have questions, or you just want to talk about this stuff in more depth, please reach out. I love talking about health and consciousness. That's what I feel I'm here for, is to serve you guys in any way that I'm able to do. And beyond that, I mean, if you want to come to Costa Rica with me, my Find Divine Balance retreat is scheduled for April the 20th to the 27th. And would love to see you there because we're going to be going deep into all of this stuff. And I'm telling you, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. It's changed mine. It's, I'm a part of a number of organizations now, some of which, like, hundreds of people every month are having spontaneous healings, like going in with tumors and traumas and skin conditions and walking canes and wheelchairs, and they're coming out after 6-7 days healed of whatever condition they had. So this stuff is real. It's changing lives. And again, I just love to have a conversation about it because it's so profound, and this is where we're going. This is where humanity is going as we continue to embrace the quantum model of reality and take our power back. And that's what I desire for every single one of us, because life truly can be a freaking paradise. You can live paradise from one moment to the next. You can design your life and have the money and the relationships and the love and the travel, whatever it is you want, you can have it. I swear to you. So I'm going to stop now. I'm going to quit rambling because I think that's enough. Love to chat with you. Reach out. Let's connect and have a conversation about all of this. How close is Yako Beach? Are you? I think Jocko. I want to say we're about 2 hours, maybe, from Jocko. Is that where you are you going to be there, Josh? That'd be cool, man. If you're there, connect with me, or maybe we can chat after this, because yeah, I think Jocko. We're at a place called Tierra de Sueños on the Caribbean side. I think it's about 2 hours from San Jose. So yeah, I think we're maybe an hour or two apart if you happen to be there. So. Yeah, folks, reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's move into the quantum model of reality together, and let's get everybody flying as high as we really were meant to fly in these bodies, in this reality, on this world, because we haven't been living up to the bill. We are truly capable of so much more, individually and together, and it's time to fly. Peace. Love everybody. Ciao.